Hello, everybody. Ben here. We are going to get started in a couple minutes. Figured I'd get us in a couple minutes early just to let people get in here. I know Evan's going to be joining momentarily, and he and I will break down the draft, why we've absolutely got to nail it. The Spurs have to nail it this month. We are already in the month of June, which is fantastic stuff. What are we, 2-3 weeks away from the draft now? And that should get enough of you excited, hopefully. I mean, you guys are in here, so you are clearly ready. I know Evan is on now. We've already got one guy. We already have one person requesting to speak.
Feel free to bring him up. We were trying to get him to talk a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna bring him up.
All right, great. We'll bring him right up. We'll answer questions immediately.
No, we gotta just keep pushing the right conversations and discourse about who you should draft and who you should maybe sign, because there's a lot of puzzle pieces behind that. So like I noticed Kim was trying to join us a few weeks ago, so you might as well have him up. We can bring Mikey as well. It is going to be a great conversation today, guys, ladies and gentlemen. So without further ado, before we pass it to Ken or Mikey, hello. My name is Evan. Feel free to follow Ben at the Boomstein, at the _ Boomstein. Sorry, Ben. We're gonna put one of your tweets up of one of your latest articles on the Jumbotron to assure people can give you some follows. Ben has been working and carrying the load for Project Spurs in terms of writing. I have just been watching so much film, trying to go to all these workouts as I can, traveling all across Texas, literally just to get the right discourse at the right time pushed to the right people. And not only has it been hard, guys, but we got to give Ben his flowers just for holding it down, keeping it up with the writing, and that's one thing I wanted just to get out. So, right now, before I pass it to Mikey and Ken, in 1 second, right now the Spurs are not only on the clock, but the pressure is freaking on, man. I know you guys can feel it. There's 4 picks. There's no reason we're bringing 4 picks. Everyone kind of knows that. Everyone kind of gets the gems, right? We got a temperature check, right? What could the Spurs do to push the tempo, to push the competitive timeline to match with the rest of the league? That's the main topic of discussion today. Ken was up here first. We're going to attack one of his questions, and then with Mikey. And then, honestly, the discourse can just go off after that, because this draft is not only so important, but how the title literally says, the Spurs have to nail the draft. And if we don't, it may be time to sell. It may be time to tank. It may be time to move on from certain guys. So Ken was up here first. We're going to go to you and then Mikey.
Appreciate it, Evan. I guess my biggest question at this point is, do we see the organization making any big off-season moves? Because I know there's been some talk about certain guys being at the forefront for the Spurs to go after, such as Deandre Ayton. Do we honestly see that happening after the draft comes up? And do we think that's going to be based on who we actually pick in the draft?
Yes. I'll answer this first and I'll pass it to Ben. This speaks clearly to me because Deandre Ayton is one of the last centers, one of the last modern centers on the market this year that can match up with the Jokic, that can match up with an Embiid, that can match up with the Cat. Anybody else, they're going to score 20-plus points on. Almost a guarantee, whether they get through the line or whether they hustle and finesse their way around them on the perimeter, right? Now, here's the thing. Go ahead. Oh, my bad. So here's the thing. Right now, Deandre Ayton is going to take a sign and trade. We've seen people saying outbid, call the Suns bluff. They're not letting their potential number one guy, their number one pick, just walk for free. I mean, yeah, that allows them to sign more guys, but realistically, Sarver and their GM, everyone in that organization, they were testing to make sure, hey, is this guy even worth it? I know you guys see him having fun, dancing in the NBA YoungBoy with Mikal Bridges. They're the youngest, funnest team for the future. Ah, man. From what I'm hearing from some Phoenix reporters, Chris Paul didn't really like that guy at the tail end of the season, calling him inappropriate, not having him step up in certain times. And when Devin Booker and Chris Paul went out, they didn't really skid. They just kind of had their mid-tier level. But then that showcase, DeAndre Ayton isn't really a number one option. He isn't really that guy. He's a tier below Cats and the Bams and all the centers in the league, right? But for the future, right? And from the Spurs standpoint, from the future, maybe you bank on that guy. Maybe you humble. Bring in David Robinson, man. Bring in Tim Duncan. Sit this man down, look him straight in the eye, point the light in his face, and be like, man, do you want to be in Hall of Famer? Do you want to be in the Spurs? Do you want to get your jersey retired? Do you want to turn everything around? You got a Puma endorsement. You got the whole nationality of your whole country repping behind you. What about the big stuff? What about the important stuff, man? Ben, go ahead.
So, to answer your question, Ken, I think depending on what the Spurs move do, I think that's going to tell you how they feel about the organization right now. An example, if they go out and they get a Zach LaVine and or a DeAndre Ayton, although getting both of them would require a lot of salary cap gymnastics.
Yeah.
But if they go out and get one or both of those guys, I think they're signaling, all right, we are clearly ready to compete right now. We got to go out. We got to win. We need to keep DeJounte Murray happy because, yes, we just paid these two guys. We just paid one or two of these two guys to come in here and help us win. But obviously we need DeJounte Murray to do that. We want to make him happy and show him that we care. We are trying to win, and we're going to pay DeJounte Murray when the time comes. And it may be one of those few times where the Spurs decide we have to go over the salary cap. We have to pay the luxury tax. We're just going to do it. If they don't go out and get someone of significance like DeAndre Ayton or Zach LaVine, if they kind of do a little bit of what they did last summer where they get kind of these nice little pieces that will hold you over for a year, maybe two, they're not quite ready to compete. They're trying to maybe buy another year of development from some other guys, maybe see what Jakob Poeltl is worth because he's in a contract year. And in my opinion, he is on one of the most wildly underrated contracts or undervalued contracts in the league right now for what he does. I mean, he's getting paid, I think, less than $10 million right now to be an elite defensive center, which if you're Jakob Poeltl next offseason, you're demanding a lot more money. Understandably
without a doubt.
So.
Without an absolute doubt.
Yeah, so if the Spurs do not get one of those two guys mentioned earlier, they really got to they're going to have to also decide how much are we paying Jakob Poeltl if we want to keep him, or are we going to try and get rid of him mid-season so that we can get something in return so he doesn't just walk.
Yeah.
So they've got there are a lot of moving parts and there are a lot of things to consider, and this is also one of the reasons why I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again for those who haven't heard. This is why the NBA has to move their free agency before the draft, because a lot of these teams are going to make draft decisions based on what they believe they can get done in free agency, but not something that has already happened.
Exactly.
Just like the NFL has that part right. I will give them credit for that. Like they have that part right. Free agency before the draft. That way, all right, this is what our team looks like. Now we really know what we need in the draft. I think the NBA needs to move to that model, but that is another discussion for another time. I think I've gone on like a 20-minute diatribe on that once, and we don't need to do that again. But, Evan, if you're cool with it, I think we're ready for Mikey to talk.
One last closing mark about some of the prospects that could potentially be behind Jakob or Ayton, because realistically what I'm thinking is there aren't really that many centers that are that much better to move on from Jakob rather than just give him one last year or maybe a 6-month trial to test and see to test the market to see what offers come in, because there's going to be a starter center out there that's hurt on a playoff contending team, and literally they're going to have to say, hey, Jakob Poeltl trade, assets just for a 6-month rental. That's going to happen. So if you're thinking that, Christian Koloko comes to mind, Ismail Kamagate. Koloko would definitely get the primo treatment, and he would probably make the rotation by the end of the season. He makes Zach Collins expendable. But if you were to get a DeAndre Ayton and know you're moving on from Jakob, Ismail Kamagate is honestly the best backup in my opinion for someone like DeAndre Ayton. Ismail Kamagate, the best comparison I've seen, is a more polished Nerlens Noel with a little bit of a post game, with a post hook, not really of a mid-range game, but just getting around the basket and be able to score over guys with the push shot that Jakob does, the push shot that Richaun Holmes does. And right now, he'll be in Austin for the full year. He's as raw. He's 190, 200 soaking wet. And right now, you need somebody that has that Onyeka Okongwu type of build, a defensive force, some guy that will fly across the lane, pin down. Give me that. That's really what it comes down to. And so there's really no off answer besides the Spurs should not target Walker Kessler. And that's really in terms of centers, because after that, the center market is just so bad. I mean, Moussa Diabate may be a second round guy, but after that, it's like Ibo Baji. Oh my God, I can't even pronounce half these other guys' names. They're just not NBA prospects. Kai Soto, not even need to be mentioned. Yeah, so that's that. Ken, not only a great question, man, but I definitely appreciate the discourse.
Just real quick before I jump off, because I was on a break at work. I only brought that up because I am so tired as a freelance sports journalist in this city, listening to fans talk about, well, this team needs to tank. We heard it all last season. When have we ever seen the Spurs organization tank? Not even in 1996, when we ended up getting the first pick with Tim in 97, did we tank. That season in 96, it was full of injuries. So that I would love to see that narrative change from a lot of the fans around the city of San Antonio themselves, because that, for the last 2 years, that's all I've been hearing, and I'm tired of hearing it, man. Hey,
as am I, because we're just floating around that mediocrity level. It's not fun. It's not fun to even report about, man, because let's think of it from my perspective, me and Ben's perspective. We have to talk about the good and the bad and the possibility of both happening. And it is so annoying. It is so annoying. The timeline, the responses, it's just like the uncertainty. Obviously, with the franchise is the bigger issue here. But they have so much pressure to not want to fall into that bottom tier tank mode, because they've been mid for a while. If they can keep it up and progressively get better, you can see a competitive timeline being in fruition later down the line, whether it's 2 years, 3 years. Obviously, Keldon can get better over the years. If you sign LaVine, you establish your core now. But it's all in the air, man. So I definitely appreciate the question, man, and the discourse. Definitely do. Mikey has been patient. Mikey, what is going on, man? How are you?
What's up, Evan and Ben? Thanks for having me on.
Floor is yours.
Cool. Thank you. So, given that we have 3 first-round picks going into this draft, and Ken mentions a great point that, what are we going to do in free agency? Is an Ayton deal possible? Is a LaVine deal possible? But are there teams willing to bite in that say we package these picks, maybe throw in a couple of our players if we're able to do that, and see if any of these teams like the Kings would bite and potentially putting us up maybe 4th?
In my opinion, 4th and the 5th range is like out of question. I was in spaces talking about how the mayor is trying to get DeJounte and Paolo pairing, and realistically, anywhere in the top 6 and 7. Actually, no, let's just say the top 10. It all can be jumbled. It all can be rearranged. Everybody knows Orlando. As of late, maybe some people who don't really caught up with things. Jabari is like linked to Orlando, and that's fat. Like, it's not just in the bookings. It's not just in Twitter spaces and rumors. That's like a thing. Obviously, people saw him responding to Chumo Kiki and Instagram, and then Josh Giddey and Chet Holmgren are best friends, blah, 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 whatever. There still could be some under the table movement there, just to make sure, just to threaten another team for not taking their guy. Whether if it's maybe getting off of Jonathan Isaac, maybe if it's trying to open some shooting guards in the get some shooting guards away from Orlando, or get some front court help immediately. There's no telling what the Spurs can do. And in my opinion, I really do think that they should move on from the 9th pick. At the 9th pick, Keegan Murray isn't going to be there. At the 9th pick, Dyson Daniels may be there. Shout out to Ben in his article up above. You should definitely tap into that. But here's the thing. The main point of the Spurs, and the main focus point, has been DeJounte Murray, our all-star, right? Our all-star replacement, right? Right now, DeJounte's made it clear, hey, I want Zach LaVine. Clutch Sports, Seattle ties, New Balance ties. It's not just the money. That's the big question mark. It's how the roster can be constructed, and if Zach LaVine wants to actually come here. There's options. There's even like the Lakers for less money. There's teams like Dallas. There's teams that are way better than the Spurs. But what is somebody like him who has a bag, who everyone's saying, oh, he may not be worth it. It may not be worth it. I think Noah just tweeted what his first to 4 year looked like. And literally his 4th year is $42+ million. That is so much money. So is that worth it later down the line? Do you want to have another front court player get half the focus and just not sign Zach LaVine? Let's just bring in Colin Sexton and let's risk being mid, right? Let's risk trying to trade for John Collins, then get shut down and have to sell for like a Jalen Johnson, maybe a hurt DeAndre Hunter, right? So if you can find a way to join in all this trade talk, all this chaos, all this, let's say, animosity and uncertainty about where certain guys would fall, join in on the Charlotte Hornets talk, join in on the OKC at 12, join in at the Knicks at 10, and rearrange picks. Try and get rid of Doug. And this is a 4 or 5 team mega trade I'm talking about here. I've been pushing that for weeks. If you can get rid of Doug and Jay Rich, that's the goal. But teams knowing that are going to be so freaking scared of the Spurs. Scared of the Spurs? Oh, we just opened up $26 million more, another max contract. That's literally speaking, hey, we're back. We're trying to get things going. Coach Pop is still here. We can bring in Quinn Snyder as an assistant. We can sign more people. We can sign more MLE guys because, hey, they fit. They fit our timeline. They're 27, 28, Chris Boucher. Maybe not Marvin Bagley, but maybe Kyle Anderson, reunion, right? So it's just like, as I pass this to Ben, where is the uncertainty and where is our guy? There is no guy, right? Dyson Daniels could be a guy, but he could go top 5, top 6. I know it sounds like a surprise, but the hype is there. And realistically, he's definitely getting picked at 8 right before us. So do we make a deal with our division rival? Are they going to have much leverage on us? No. They're a tier ahead of us. They have Zion coming back. We got killed in the play-in. Devin Vasel had to have his best game versus that just to even have a chance. So let me pass this to Ben real quick. That was a long answer, but right now, I'm all on trading this pick, man. I know I don't mock drafts, all this stuff, but we got to move this pick.
I think kind of a crazy pick. I saw it floated around earlier today. I wish I can remember what it was. I want to say Ty Yeager tweeted it into my timeline. It was something like Doug McDermott, Josh Richardson, and the 20th pick to the Kings for the number 4 pick and a guard. I cannot remember who the guard was, but I was staring at it because I said, this might actually make sense. I don't hate this. And the Spurs keep the 4th and the 9th pick, so they can kind of control their destiny as to who's left at the 9th pick. They'll have at least one of those choices to go there, but there's opportunity for that. I think trading into the top 4 or 5 is certainly doable in this draft, and I think there are a lot of teams that will be open to it. I mean, maybe aside from the Magic, who I would say are adamant in that they are going to use their pick and they're going to take somebody. Yes, there's been a lot of talk about Jabari Smith going there, but I get the feeling, my gut tells me that Chet Holmgren is still in the running a bit there. But with Oklahoma City picking so high, you have to try and make sure that they're not involved, frankly, because they already have so many picks coming up in the next few years anyway. You don't want to give them more ammo. If anything, you want to try and take some of that ammo from them and make them actually do some scouting, make them actually work for it in a sense, because like the Spurs this year, they have a bunch of picks. They're probably thinking, yeah, obviously we're going to do our scouting, but I mean, one of these picks is going to hit, right? It has to work out well for us at some point. So I would say avoid trading with OKC at all costs just because they don't need more assets. You also they're in the West. You don't want to help them out. You just don't. Because their front office is very good. But, despite what their record says. But the Spurs have an opportunity to trade up into the top 5, I think, if they really want to. And then if they really feel strongly about Dyson Daniels, they could get him at 5. And if they trade up to 6, maybe 6, and they could potentially keep their 9th pick just because they could use the 20th and the 25th or the 20th and the 38th or 25th and 38th, whatever it is. They could use a combo of picks and a couple of players that they might not have long-term vision for anyway. So there are opportunities there for sure, no question about it. But it's a scary prospect. Like Evan said, like teams don't want to give the Spurs an opportunity to come back and be in a hunt here, be competitive, because they know once the Spurs get rolling, it is very hard to stop them.
I think going back to the draft, let's say we stay pat, we're at 9th. Evan, are you big on like a center like Jalen Duran, like developing and maybe potentially moving on from Jakob if it comes down to that?
So I was actually in like a really good discourse on the timeline about this yesterday. And there's two ways to it, man. Because Jalen Duran is like the modern center that fits what like the NBA is, right? Like if you swing and miss on Deandre Ayton, Jalen Duran is a starting level center in the NBA probably within 2 or 3 years. But here's the thing. Do the Spurs have 2 to 3 years to have this man as a backup? Like I'm not, I'm not so sure about that. So Jalen Duran as a starter for a team like, let's say, the Rockets, the Hornets, or even OKC, running gun type of play. That's more like his play style, right? I don't really see him being like a stagnant, I don't want to say future piece for the Spurs, but say he falls to us, right? I've seen mocks have him falling out of the top 15, top 16. Not only does that make any sense, but it's just like Jalen Duran people are going to try and trade up for him in the top 10, without a doubt. Whether those trades go through or not, who knows? Jalen Duran is a better target than someone like Yusuf Nurkic, who's on the unrestricted free agents market, right? Teams like Portland are going to be so high on him, right? But here's the thing. I don't think the Spurs have time to mess around and do this Jalen Duran project. I would love him on this team, right? But let's think realistically here. Hey, DeJounte's still on this team. He's loving it. Maybe we get Zach. Maybe we sign, or not sign and trade. Maybe we trade for a John Collins, right? We're in that maybe playoff race, right? We're in the 7th, 8th seed now. We're in the same level as like teams like New Orleans, right? A solid starting 5. That's all I got to say. If you bring in Jalen Duran off the bench, man, I'm not saying it's a disaster, but like he's not that type of guy. He would have so much animosity. I don't want to say on the bench, but so much animosity with the front office to say, "Hey, I'm better than Jakob. Y'all can move on from him now, please. Hey." But it's just like, I don't know. I'm really not sure. If you have an amazing offer for Jakob, right, and it says DeAndre Ayton, you know who would be a fantastic backup for DeAndre Ayton? Jalen Duran, right? Does he want to do that? Probably not. Does he want to be a starter in this league? Probably. Does he want to sit behind DeAndre Ayton's mess? When I say mess, I'm talking his antics. I'm talking his nonsense that not a lot of people want to talk about. I'm not sure. So does that answer your question a little bit? Do I take him at 9? If like Dyson Daniels is there, if Jeremy Sohan is there, there's bound to be so many trade offers at that point if that's going to be a thing. And that's why it's dating back to what I'm saying earlier, that 4 or 5 team mega trade, man. That's where it all comes to place. Everyone has their guy. They pick, and then hey, if you don't like the certain guy, add some more picks, add some more first round promises, later first rounds, and that's when it gets good. So,
and I think in addition to that, even if you're not sold on Jalen Duran, there are other guys who should be available. And yes, I think the Spurs should probably be targeting a big man early in this draft. If for whatever reason you don't like Jalen Duran, there's Mark Williams who's available, who measured incredibly well at the combine, who came in 7'2" in shoes, which I remind you is the only thing that matters because you play basketball in your shoes. So 7'2", he's about 240. He moves somewhat well. He's not as good an athlete as Jalen Duran is, but he could probably be just as good a rim protector because he's got a 9'9" standing reach. He is literally 3 inches from the rim, just standing. So I think it's safe to say he can protect that rim a little bit, even if he wasn't a solid athlete like he is. So there are options, but yes, I would very much like to see a big man targeted with the 9th pick, unless somehow Keegan Murray is available, in which case the Spurs cannot get to the podium quick enough and make that pick.
Yeah, so I want to tell back on my Keegan Murray slander, just so I can be 100% clear, because this is a recorded space. This obviously is the updated week of when I'm saying this. Keegan Murray would thrive long-term in the Spurs system, long-term, as a starting power forward, the Tobias Harris of this generation, not the isolation forward per se, but the cutting forward, the finishing forward, the push the ball in transition forward. Literally, he's a solid defender, not the best playmaker, and that's what was such a concern as rookie year for me, because any other team, I know I said this and this was like some hard pill to swallow, but literally anybody with length, anybody from like a Check Diallo, uh, anyone with size, anyone with length, anyone that has strength is going to give this man such a hard time his rookie year. And does that hurt his confidence? Does that hurt his game long term? Maybe, maybe not. Does he have that killer mentality? He showed up for the combine. The only top 10 prospect showing for the combine. People were like, who's who? Keegan or Chris? Who's who? And hey, Keegan showed up, and Keegan made it a thing. Keegan showed up, and he not only produced at a high level at the combine, but he tested and measured well. Everything was there. Yes, he can add some more weight on the shoulders. Yes, he can maybe add a little bit over his bag on the wing, right? Maybe a shizzle drive, maybe a wraparound behind the back, step back. That's not his game, but I would like to see it. I would like to see it. So Ian has joined us on the stage. Ian is a regular. How are you? And Mikey, man, not only great questions, man, but I definitely do appreciate the discourse and giving you a follow back. So I appreciate you. Tavares was trying to join. I'm not sure if he answered your question. If you want to hop back on, feel free. But Ian, the floor is yours, my man.
Hey everyone, thanks Evan. I kind of wanted to revisit a trade that was mentioned last year a little bit, and that's for Wiseman. I still believe in his potential. I was looking at some highlights of his when he last played, and man, I mean, he has some real abilities. A trade package of Pirtle and also two of the our later first round picks, 20 and 25. I feel like could get that going with Looney's contract up, as well as giving them another year with Pearl. I feel like that gives them incentive. Granted, they are in the championship game, so it's not like they need it. But I think that's something that that would work.
You were the guy that was pushing the Clint Capella trade as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Clint Capella for 2 years let more on his contract than Jakob, right? We still have the same system. You give this guy 24 minutes per game, nothing less, nothing more. He doesn't close out the game. We have a solid small ball five. Is it possible we can leverage Clint Capella for people are gonna hate me. People are gonna hate me, but I've been saying Devin Vasel back in Atlanta not only makes sense, especially if you get pick 16. Because that's the Marjan Beauchamps, the EJ Liddell, the Oshai Abaji, all the people that everybody canceled me on. Who's better than Ben Matheran yesterday? Oh, screw you. Anyways, I think it's so funny how literally I can't express where the importance is for the competitive timeline, knowing we don't have to pay some guy like Devin for 2 years and Jakob in a year. And literally we can have, I don't want to say a better center, but the same players, the same play style, a rim runner that actually is a lob threat, just as well on defense. Free throws, ugh, god damn it, right? But Clint Capella, 2 more years, you don't have to worry about trading him. You have your center, and it's just like that is a move that makes sense. Cause hey, remember what I said? The 4 or 5 team mega trade. Guess where the Hawks are? They're in that 16 range. They probably want to scoot up and get someone at 9. They probably want Jeremy Sohan to replace him. That's all I got to say, man. And here's the thing. If we get rid of Doug, if we get rid of Jay Rich, that trade package in that 4 or 5 team mega trade is not going to happen. We'd have to have another trade for that. Why is that not going to happen with Jay Rich and Doug? What team, Charlotte, New York, OKC, maybe if they get some picks for it, what team would want to take on those contracts? That's a lot of money, man. So
with the only thing with Clint Capella that I don't like is, yes, you have a little more guaranteed time with him because of his contract, but he's also 2 years older than Jakob Poeltl. He's He's 28 right now. Jakob is 26. For big men, after 30, 31, I feel like we get a pretty steep drop off, kind of depending on how much athleticism is involved in their game. And I feel like with Capella, there's more athleticism needed for his game, which is why he's a lob threat. But Clint Capella's free throw shooting, and frankly his hands at times, absolutely terrify me. If you ever get a chance to watch Hawks games from this past year or even the year before, Clint Capella has had trouble catching the ball and actually finishing layups, which is terrifying to me, because this is a problem that a lot of Spurs fans are familiar with. When Thiago Splitter was in San Antonio, they always yelling at him to just dunk everything, stop trying to lay everything up and avoid contact or be fancy with it. Just dunk the ball. I think you're going to be yelling the same thing with Clint Capella. So it's one of those things where it might just be go with the evil, quote unquote, that rather than trying to figure out, is the grass greener on the other side? It may not be. It just may not be. So I wouldn't get too excited about it, but I understand. But I'm a Pirtle guy over a Capella guy.
So what you just mentioned, though, that drop off, that's when his contract ends. I feel like that gives us enough time to make those decisions. I don't know if we want to bring him back, and really on a smaller deal, especially if his production declines. So I feel like with those 2 additional years, you kind of have a little bit more room. You kind of have like a stopgap at the center position, and he's still productive. He still has an impact defensively. I just think with those 2 years left, you have a little bit more say in how the next contract goes.
Absolutely, and that is huge. It's less finagling, less bargaining, trading you may have to do. My other concern, I should say, not only, but my other concern is I think Trae Young just makes him much better than he is, because Trae Young, once he gets by his man out on the perimeter, you have to either go double him and stop him from getting to the rim because he can finish in a variety of ways. And if you don't do that, you have to go take away the lob threat that is Clint Capella. You can't do both, where I don't think DeJounte Murray quite has that shiftiness that Trae Young has. I think Clint Capella would play a slightly different role, or he would fit differently with the Spurs in that regard. That's not to say he wouldn't be a great screen and roll guy. He obviously is very good at that. That is one of his greatest strengths, if not his greatest strength. So it's just, I don't think he'll be as effective just because he's not playing with some of those same players. I think that's really what it comes down to for me.
As I'm sending a few invites to more people who I've talked on the timeline, literally just to not only see if you're free, but just to keep pushing your discourse, not trying to prove you wrong, but literally just to keep the possibilities being open to discuss of what the Spurs can do. Not only do I have a high respect for a lot of these people joining us on stage, but a lot of people who are DMing me questions about what do we do this, what do we do that. We'll definitely get into that momentarily. Don has joined us on the stage. Don is a Bulls fan with a hilarious avi of young Anthony Simons, which what I've definitely said, could be in the same level of a primo in a couple of years. We'll get into that a little later. But Don, man, how are you doing, man? Appreciate you joining us.
I'm good today. I just got out of class, so I'm really chilling. For the Spurs, I think you guys are in a really nice spot, to be honest. Like people like Duran, Mark Williams, someone like Tory Easton, who I've looked at, I believe would be, I'd be like almost a perfect fit in San Antonio. His length, the way he plays defense already at college, and his offensive game, it's not exactly perfect right now. He still has things to work on, such as like shooting and handling a bit. But like, I believe if you guys can get him right, which is not for you guys isn't that very hard, that's someone that could be elite, not only 3-and-D, but an elite all-around player in 2 to 3 years coming up.
And you were talking about Tory Easton, correct?
Tory Easton, yeah, at LSU, I believe.
So the one problem I have with Tory Easton at 9 is it's not necessarily a stretch, but at 9, hey, the 9, 10, 11 range, right? That's somebody that is not really needing to spend time in Austin, right? That's somebody, I don't want to say as a day one starter, but you immediately plug him in, right? He's a part of the rotation. And I've said this on many occasions, Tory and Doug McDermott's role, sub 20 minutes as a rookie, not only is that solid, but like you're
Give you better. I'd tell you the defense it gives you would be almost night and day.
Not only that, man, but I'll say this, and I'll make up another saying here. I'm the guy that makes a lot of sayings in terms of draft and Spurs Twitter. Tory Easton could be another Lonnie Walker situation in terms of inconsistency. Tory Easton has not turnover proneness, but he has, that high level motor that, maybe I can dribble past this guy. Maybe I can cross dribble between, set myself up for a shot. He would, in the Spurs system, just be coming off his high pick and rolls, dribble handoffs, get into the lane, try and finish, right? But can you count on that to do that all the time? Maybe a year in Austin, right? At maybe, I don't want to say a value of a pick, but say if we were to get Tory, if people have been linking Tory to picks at 20, 23 lately, that doesn't quite make sense. I'm seeing him not get past Atlanta, frankly.
I can't see him getting that far behind, to be honest.
So it's just like, could we make a trade up to do that? And everyone says, trade 20 and 25 to get 16 and 17. That's so much easier than said than done. You have to bank on a team wanting to want two more rookies that aren't as good, rather than having a guy that you're probably high on that you worked out at 17. And at the 15, 16, 17 range, that's where you start to notice some of these guys, the project picks, or the solidified starters, maybe an AJ Griffin could be floating around there. That sounds crazy, I know. But guys, think about who is not reported. There's their actual, not stats, but their combine measurements, their weight, all that kind of stuff. They're not posting it because it'll hurt their stock. And everyone on Twitter is going to say, oh, he's not worth this pick. He's not doing that. And that's just the agency's job to make them look better. That's the agency's job to not report all the workouts they go to. Because, hey, not everyone needs to know, hey, I'm working out with a third of the league, right? Some teams like the Spurs hold out.
Some teams tell you not to tell others that you're working out with them, right?
The Spurs way, the classic Spurs way. Don, I forgot the first party question. I'm gonna have to pass it back to Ben, and then we have Nave joining us on stage as well as Tavarius. I forgot who was first, but Ben, if you want to attack that, is Tory worth it? Pick 9 question. Everybody loves Tory versus Sohan comparisons at 9, but I think only one is really worth that pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's tough because, like you said, some guys, I've been seeing Tory Easton fall as far as 20 or 23, falling in the late teens, really kind of weird stuff. I'm not really sure why. It might be intel from workouts. I'm really not sure. So that's the part that scares me. But I think if you're really going to go with a Sohan versus Easton comparison, they both play high-level defense. They just play it differently. Tory Easton is kind of like a chaotic defender. He changes your pace. He makes you do things slightly off pace that you wouldn't do. Whereas Sohan is probably a more methodical defender. He's thinking about how he's going to make you move to a certain spot. He's got a really good feel for the game, and I think the other thing that might be an advantage is Sohan, just despite his age and kind of despite his rawness, he doesn't ever really seem to be fazed by the game. Something bad happens, a mistake happens. He plays good D and a guy hits a shot in his face. Okay, whatever. Next play, we're going down the court. I'm not to say that Easton is easily fazed or anything like that, but that's something I notice with Sohan a lot. And one, from watching his game, and two, that's a lot of what I've been reading as well. So I think that's why there's this big debate around Easton and Sohan, and why some people think that if Easton doesn't go to 9, he could fall that far just because there are not a lot of other teams who are in specific need of what he brings. So I think therein lies the issue for a lot of people.
And I'll make one last, I guess it's a funny comparison to make about Tory Easton. An agent DM'd me after one of his workouts, and he was saying Tory Easton plays defense like that annoying 30-year-old dad who tries too hard at Lifetime. The pesky fouls, the reaching, but it's all effort, right? It's all effort, and he can move his feet real well, his hips well laterally. It's all there. But like that, that's pretty spot on because literally half the fouls he would commit at LSU, they would just be boneheaded ass fouls. They would just be like he's too aggressive. He's too, I don't want to say into the moment, but he's slapping the floor, clapping his hands. Yeah, we on that, reaching foul. Come on, man. So I think I'm gonna pass it to Tavares because he was trying to join earlier, and then I'm gonna pass it to Nave. Both really good follows amongst Spurs Twitter. So Tavares, floor is yours, and then Nave.
I just want to say, who is the best? Spurs need to grab the best player available because they need a guy that can score. Who's the best player that can score within that range? Like for Ben or Davis. They
Ben,
need to go to guys like Jordan Poole, someone that can get their own shot.
Ben, let's say it on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Johnny Davis.
You said Johnny Davis. I was ready to say
my dude.
Matheran.
Gino, hey, listen. Hey, Gino is like the one-man band screaming Johnny Davis. I'm Gino, we're gonna pass to you in a second, but let's right now as the best scorer, some guy that can have Trey Man like outbreaks, some guy who's a pure bucket getter. The answer is Johnny Davis. But the problem with Johnny Davis on this team is he's a pure shooting guard. He's not even a wing. He's not even a small forward. He's not a point guard. He's not a combo guard. This guy is a less athletic Devin Booker. He is a Chris Duarte in the flesh. And right now, I can see him. Now, I don't want to say start day one. I know Gino's going to have to say something about that. But right now, Johnny Davis would be getting the Lonnie Walker commitment, right? The Lonnie Walker, not 6-man role, but just, hey, we need a freaking bucket, man. Put the ball in the hole. And as a rookie in the Spurs system, a scrappy defender, a solid rebounder. Johnny Davis makes sense. But next to let's think about the second lineup. Second lineup would be Trey Jones, Primo, and then you have to play Johnny Davis. You picked him at 9. You got to play him. Johnny Davis can't play the 3. If Primo grows 2 inches, packs on 10 pounds, has some knee surgery, that grows that has him grow a couple of, maybe. But right now, that second lineup is not only, I don't want to say just as important as the first lineup, but the second quarter and that second lineup starting is what is going to make or break that game. Zach Collins, as a 5, maybe we can get another Chris Boucher or like a Marvin Bagley, a Kyle Kuzma type player, Jalen Johnson, somebody to fill that 4 spot. But if it's another rookie, oy vey, are we 8 deep? 8 deep with 3 guards that are above 6'5"? Is that it? Because like we have to play another center, and it's Zach Collins, and shit, he's gonna get dunked on. Can he get us a 3? Maybe 1, not 2, not 3, which he can do in Portland. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest factor. So it's just like, I get it. Johnny Davis makes sense, and with Benedict Matheran, he's a small forward, right? He's a wing. He can play 2 and 3, and maybe guard 1 through 3, right? Benedict Matheran as Lonnie, and the same Lonnie role. I'll say this now. I'll probably pen a tweet on the jumbo board. His catch and shoot numbers, we may have to double check this. They're even worse than James Sohan's. And I'm talking inconsistency, man. I'm talking, he has the grittiness, that quote unquote dog in him to thrive in the league. But is Benedict Matheran and Lonnie Walker's role the exact thing you want for the competitive timeline when you could just bring back Lonnie Walker? And if you, man, Lonnie Walker's so inconsistent. I don't want him on this team. Lonnie Walker as a backup small forward and even a more diminished role with all the pressure on the world. I'm not just going to say he's time to clutch. We try to leverage that on the timeline right now. But I think he will do better than Ben Matheran year 1. Year 2, that's the question. Year 3, that's the question. But are the Spurs willing to risk that question? I don't know. And is Ben Matheran, he's not going to be in Austin. Doesn't need to, right? That is the biggest X factor. And that's why I'm saying we may have to trade up that 9th pick. Tavares, not only is that a great question, but I'm going to pass it to Ben because I know he wants me to shut up now.
I always enjoy when you talk. But I like Benedict Matheran a little better than Johnny Davis just because his bounce and his athleticism and the other things he can do in addition to going out and getting his bucket, he's he does not make as many hard shots as Johnny Davis makes, that's for sure. Johnny Davis took and made a lot of difficult shots at Wisconsin because he had to. Benedict Matheran had a lot more help at Arizona and played like it for the most part. I mean, there were times when he played a little bit of hero ball and he tried to go out and get a shot himself, and it may not have been the best shot available. But I think for me, Benedict Matheran is, even if he's a guy who's not hitting that night, or he's not contributing on offense the way you hoped, he can do other things on offense to get himself going. He's a lob threat. He's a guy who cuts backdoor well. He cuts and he finds other ways to score, but he's also going to play defense. And like Evan said, he can probably play 1 through 3. But that's kind of my 2 cents on Benedict Matheran. I happen to like him a lot. I also happen to watch a lot of Arizona basketball this past year, more so than I usually do, because they finally had a team worth watching. And they have, Dallin Terry is a guy who's in the draft. He stayed. He didn't withdraw, so he could be a guy who goes late first round as well. But Benedict Matheran, I think, was inconsistent on catch and shoots because he was initiating the offense a lot of times. Even as the 2 or 3 out there, he was the guy who had to make that offense run. So I'm not sure all of his catch and shoot looks were terribly clean or terribly good. So I think that may play a factor as well.
Personally, if it's all right if I interject, Evan.
Go ahead, man. Do your thing.
Personally, between the two, Johnny Davis and Matheran, I'm with Ben there. I'm all in on Matheran. His true shooting percentage was 60%. He's very efficient. His 3-point percentage was 37% compared to 30 for Johnny Davis. So I feel spacing wise, it might not work as well with Johnny Davis. Also, Matheran is bigger. He has the ability to guard 3 positions, like you mentioned. So for me, just from an efficiency standpoint, Benedict is the better player, I would say.
Nave, I know you were next, but I got to give my Gino his little moment of of clarity, because he's been so high on Johnny Davis, and I respect everything he's saying. He's not only right, but we gotta let him rebuttal that.
I'm just gonna say, I just hear like we're gonna create space. Ben Matheran can create space. Create space for who? Who's gonna do something with that space? You got DeJounte Murray, and that's it. You have nobody else who can handle the ball and get a shot, create space, get their own shot. Ben Matheran can't get his own shot. I watched him. He comes off curls and shoots open threes. Or he gets a bucket in transition. He doesn't, hey, go give me a shot. Go give me a Jason Tatum shot. He can't do that. There are no 6'8". Everyone wants a Paul George, big 6'8" wing guy, can handle the ball and shoot, but there's no guys like that at number 9 in this draft. So, to me, Johnny Davis, first of all, Lonnie Walker is a small forward. Johnny Davis is bigger and stronger and longer than Lonnie Walker. He's almost him and Matheran about the same size. I think Matheran's a little taller, maybe a little longer, but it's not that big of a difference. And I don't know. I see a man who can defend. He had an average 8 rebounds. A man who went to Jaden Ivey's home court and dropped 37 in his fucking face. I don't know. Boom! I'm taking Johnny Davis, and I'm starting DeJounte, Johnny, and Devin, because when Derek White got traded, Devin was the guy who guarded the best wing. He's our 3-and-D guy. He's long. I know he has to get stronger. That's the one issue. He's kind of skinny. He's not strong enough. He gets stronger. You have a guy who can guard the best wing on the other team. He's not a primary creator. He's going to stand in the corner and shoot threes. But you got a DeJounte and Johnny Davis as your 1-2, both long, both can defend their ass off, both can create. I'm taking it because, hey, like you guys said, next year's draft is loaded, right? Yeah. There's a lot of studs. So I'm not expecting us to be great. The West is going to be better. We get Johnny. The next year, maybe that big wing guy we all want is there. We can draft. But to me, he's the best player at number 9. He'd be awesome for the Spurs. He defends his ass off. I like Sohan too. He'd be my number 2 choice because I think he's going to just be an elite defender. You don't find guys like that who can guard 1 through 5 like that, but he can't score, so that's the issue there. You can't. We need a guy who can score, create. Like I said, we talk about all this space we're creating. Who are we creating it for? Keldon Johnson? I mean, no offense, but Anyway, I'll pass it back.
Gino, I see your point, and the one knock that I have on all your points is that Johnny Davis, could he grow, right? Could he fill out his body? Yes, but like we're talking, I'm being nitpicky. We're talking year one. He's not gonna be able to guard threes. I can't see that just because he's not that quick. But 1s and 2s, maybe not even 1s, because they'll be the shiftier ones giving off the ball. Really, just the 2. And that sounds me being picky. But that's just really my opinion. I got to make that clear. And then Benedict Matheran has that one tier ahead of him in terms of being able to guard 3. But Johnny Davis takes it, keeps it out. Makes sense because he's that pure bucket getter.
Yeah, but can Matheran create his own shot? That's my thing. Like, if you give him the ball, go give me a Jason Tatum shot at the elbow. Go give me a shot. Good shot.
We got a lot of requests coming in, so we got maybe some back and forth. But before we do that, not only do I appreciate you, Gino, and I definitely recommend following him because you're gonna see nothing but Johnny Davis discourse on his timeline. Nave has been waiting patiently. We're gonna go to him, and then we got Jesse before we had the patron. So yeah, Nave, it's all you, man.
Hey, good evening. Appreciate you welcoming me into your talk. It's around 9 p.m. here in Israel. I have a question for you, Evan, and for you, Ben. The thing is, for me, is like the past 2 years, we have like a lot of debates about who we need to pick, and it was mainly about Kai Jones and Alperen Şengün, or a year before it was about Sadiq Bey or Aaron Naismith. And eventually, Brian Wright has his own plan. For me, is to understand what Brian Wright wants, because nobody saw Jock Landale coming. It was out of the blue. And regardless if he was good or not, but he was out of our sight. And for me, is try to figure out what the game plan for Brian Wright is, because in this draft, I listened to so much draft podcast from Draft Deeper and In the Box from Coach Spinella and No Ceiling and Locked on Big Boards and all of that. And there is like 3 guys I don't like. The rest of them I really like. I like Ochai Abaji, and I like Malachi Branham, and I like Bryce McGrown. I like all of those guys. I like EJ Liddell. And for me, is to understand what Brian Wright wants to do with this team. And my question is, what make us sure or better analyst than Brian Wright? Because he do his homework and he's got his own plan. So for me, I can't win this thing. I can't win because we talk about like 5, 6, 7 guys, and eventually he's gonna bring Ismail Kamangate or something like that. Ty Washington. I can't imagine what he's gonna do. I can't imagine.
So you're saying
it's gonna fall out of the sky for us.
So you're saying like why does he make these unpredictable picks, or like why are you just asking like to talk about some of these guys that you like and maybe
it's not my guys. It's not my guys. My guys is I like Jeremy Sohan. For me. Mm-hmm. If we could get Keegan Murray, it was top priority. If we can't get, it would be Jeremy Sohan, and try to get Tory Easton or EJ Liddell later on.
But you think Brian's is going to shock us all, and with the 9th pick, the Spurs select Nikola Jovic. chaos.
Yeah,
Is that what you think?
I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be Ochai Agbaji. I think it's gonna be
Wow.
Ochai Agbaji.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. I tell you why. I tell you why for just 1 second, because I think Spurs are all very conservative, all very wild in their picks. Like Devin Vasel, the most conservative pick. It was a great pick, but Ochai Agbaji is a really, really good player. Like you talk about Matheran and Davis, I think is not fall off of either one of them. I think is good in defense, is excellent in offense, is excellent in catch and shoot for three. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
it can be Ochai Agbaji, and we all go to the same say what? Yeah,
no, I get you. Listen, Ochai necessarily doesn't make 6, in my opinion, at 9, but he is one of the guys that I feel like they'll be targeting. That makes sense because even we talked about who would be the best in the Doug McDermott or Lonnie role as a wing, a cutter, finisher at the rim. Ochai Agbaji could be very well the best trailer from this draft, even in the top 3, outside Jabari, outside of Chet, in terms of transition threes, in terms of pick and pop threes, in terms of dribble handoff threes, catch and shoot from 35 feet out. Jordan pool range from last night. Not saying like that, but like Ochai can definitely light it up from deep. When I say deep, I'm talking multiple games, man. And the form is there. It's quick. Does he make Joe Weekend expendable? Yeah. Joe, there's no real need for you at this point, right? And right now, Ochai, I feel like he'd be higher on the board around the 15, 16 range, but I don't think he'll be there at 20. Maybe Denver passes on him. Maybe somebody can package a deal for him because they're high on him. But he's one of the older guys. Let's remember, he's one of the mature guys. But he's actually at that fringe line. That makes sense to give him 15 minutes day one. And hey, he's not taken away from Primo. He's coming in at the 3. He's guarding, without a doubt, the second unit's best guy, best wing. And right now, like I can see the confidence in him to not want to shy away from a moment, right? To not shy away from something that they know that he can't do, because his game is limited on offense. He can't get to the rim, and if he gets there, he can't finish at the rim. And right now, like there's no catch off the dribble, mid range. I mean, it's there when it's like an option, but I don't think that's like his preferred tactic. So Ochai, yes, long term as a Spur, fits great. He'll knock down 5-6 threes a game at his peak, maybe even more sometimes. But like right now, what is the smartest thing to do? And if that is a 2-for-1 and we move back out of 9 and we get a 16 and 17 and we trade 20 to get leverage another signing trade, this is where the headaches begin, people. This is where the migraines start to pop up. It's just like, how many back-to-back trades can Brian pull on draft night? Not only that makes sense, but it's just like we don't have to take on bad contracts. Maybe we get a starter level power forward from that. I don't know. Navel, I'll let you continue. Then we got to go to the Patron, and then Jesse has joined us. Appreciate you guys being patient. But
what do you think? What do you think about trading 9 and 20 for 13 and 15 of the Charlotte Hornets?
Yeah. That's definitely been like the go-to answer in terms of like the best option, because that's the last forward, the last center available that makes sense for the Hornets potentially at 9. They can get Jalen Duran, they can get Sochan, they can get Tory if they feel like they like him. Because Tory Easton's workout list literally just break down specifically his draft rankings, his draft order, where he can go, where he can fall. And somebody may want to trade up to get him and steal him, because all those teams, the Wizards, the Timberwolves, the Bulls, the Hawks, everybody wants him. Everybody wants that man. So right now, I'm trying to think. 13 and 15. If we can squeeze PJ Washington out. Bye, Charlotte. Hey, we know you had some drama back there. Come to San Antonio. We got some prettier women over here. You know what I'm saying? We got your starting role right there, power forward right there. We got a 1-year contract. We got a reunion with Keldon Johnson, them Kentucky boys back together, and they're both about to earn their bag. They're both about to be loud and ignorant and energy plugs. So starting lineup, I like that. Do we throw them, Doug? Do we throw them more first-round picks to make that happen? I think so. That is a move that not only makes sense because we can get Ochai at 13 or 15. We can get Marjan at 13 or 15. We can get somebody like a Ousmane Dieng. Jesse's hair just stood up on his arm, right, Jesse? I don't know what it would take, but that makes sense. Jay Rich could be the guy. Jay Rich has a lot of history with a lot of people in Charlotte, may on the lower ends of maybe not wanting him there, but hey, we're grown men here. We're making money here. So the Patron just dipped out. Sorry, but man, if you want to come back up, feel free to. But if not, as he leaves, sayonara. Jesse, the floor is all yours, my guy.
No, I was going to say, I jumped in on the Johnny Davis thing. I want to reiterate something I said before. I think he's fine offensively. How long will it take him to get up to a DeRozan level player? Which is the fit was okay. It worked okay for the Spurs. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. Still kind of a high floor, low ceiling situation. Defensively, he's better than DeRozan, but he's still not a two-way impact on this team because the Spurs, as we learned last year, had two elite defensive guards in Derek White and DeJounte Murray, and a nice, above-average, just below elite starting defensive center in Pirtle, and it meant nothing because they were short, they were small. I think that at 9 you need a two-way impact. You need a defensive wing who can switch, play good team defense, and create a little bit offensively for himself. And then the other big point, new kind of thought that I've been having is you can't keep both Devin and Keldon. They're too small on the wings to be starting in the starting lineup together. I just don't like the fit. If you can package one with 20 or 25 in the second round pick, I'm all for doing that, depending on how the draft order shakes out.
Hey, no, I'm on board. And you were the guy. You were the lone wolf. I don't want to say on Twitter, but that made it 100% thing. You are standing on your point. You still want Ousmane Dieng at 9. Are you still on that point, man?
I mean, I just want him. If you can trade up in the draft from 20 and 25 to get in the mid-teens to Cleveland or something, I'm all for that. If it has to be a 9, to me, it's contingent on you talk to Chip. Is his shot fixable? And if he says it's good, I trust it.
Hey, I'm on board. Ben, we're going to pass it to you, and then Patron, thanks for joining us back. Hopping back on stage. We're going to get to you right after Ben.
Yeah, Jesse's right. It is very hard to play Devin Vasel and Keldon Johnson together, and that was a major issue with the Spurs this year. They struggled to rebound balls because they were so small. They just, yes, you can argue rebounding is an effort thing, and it's this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, you need bigger, taller guys to go out there and be able to just grab the ball, secure the defense, complete the defensive possession, and go the other way. The Spurs didn't do enough of that. They gave up a ton of offensive rebounds. It was infuriating to watch at times. I'm with Jesse. You have to get someone who can go out there who is bigger, who's 1, going to help you defend, 2, going to help you rebound the ball, and 3, if they can give you something on offense, great. That's kind of a bonus for me. That's gravy. But Devin and Keldon together, one of them's probably got to go, and I would imagine if you have to choose between the two of them, you want to keep Devin Vasel just because the shot looks like it's coming along much quicker than Keldon's, and you can find another energy guy who's 6'8" or 6'9" instead of 6'6" trying to play the 4. So that's my 2 cents. We're going to bring up Patron. I know he's been waiting for a hot minute, so good sir, say your piece and let us hear it.
Well, thanks for having me on. I just had about 3 questions. Just thinking, let's just say best case scenario. If we were to possibly move up, maybe give up the number 9 pick and the Raptors pick to potentially move up to actually, let's say, the top 4, who would you potentially take in that scenario? Now, a lot of people say, well, like, who would trade up to 4? But one of those teams in the top 4 is actually the Sacramento Kings. And we all know that they're not too good with making the best decisions. So it could actually happen. If you were to land that number 4 pick, who would you take? Also, let's say we were to make a trade with the Sacramento Kings. We could possibly do the number 9, the Raptors pick, maybe give them a protected lottery pick next year and Jakob Poeltl. And if we do that, there's that opportunity to be aggressive in free agency. We know the cap space is there. Do you guys think that is possible? Because that, if everything goes well, all the things go positive, that could create a very exciting season.
Man. So the Kings will definitely king this draft. I've said on many occasions. There's no way. As of late, I've heard that they're higher on Keegan Murray than Jaden Ivey, which is a boneheaded mistake, which is the worst case scenario for a team that hasn't made the playoffs since I was in grade school. So, I believe I remember your package. It was a Raptors pick 9. You're gonna have to add a piece of the young core, man, to that. Whether it's Primo or Devin, the Kings know that that's the level of the franchise guy. I would take Ivy because we would be gutted off of Primo, right? Ivy is going to be, I don't want to say the next Spider of this league, but in terms of his play style, he's not a shooting guard. He's not a point guard. I guess you can call him a combo guard, but really he's just a freaking guard. He's just a hybrid scorer. He's somebody that puts the ball in the bucket. Pick and roll, zoom, bye-bye, I'm dunking on your center. Pick and roll, zoom, I'm literally just zip past you, and I got to dump down to Zach Edey. Even though he's not there, there's going to be a starter-level center there one way or another because you need that with Jaden Ivey. Now, there's no mid-range game. His defense isn't the best. He's a scrappy defender who tends to, reach in, get a superstar call at home especially, but maybe can have some power issues, proneness, just being aggressive, just trying to get a transition dunk. We've seen guys do that. I know it sounds like I'm being petty, but we've seen guys who are just trying to get ready for the big moment, try and create something bigger than what it sells. Jalen Green, Anthony Edwards, and that didn't really work out the first half of the season. So maybe the Sacramento Kings aren't high on him. And if the Spurs bring him in, some guy like that, I never thought or considered that. I was paying this dude to make jersey swaps with prospects. I never even considered paying him for Jaden Ivey. So to be honest, does that make sense? With more picks added to it? Possibly. Because the pressure's on, man. They're not bringing in Julius Randle. They're not bringing in Jeremy Grant. They're not bringing in another Zach LaVine. No one wants to play in freaking Sacramento. So it's just like, yeah, well, I can see that happening. If they take Keegan, good luck, big fella. Good luck. You got to play next to Harrison Barnes. Everyone knows you're limited on the wing. I wish you the best of luck. Seriously. But I know you had 2 more questions. Ben, if you wanted to answer that, go right ahead.
Yeah, if you're trading up to get the Kings pick, you can probably give up something like Richardson, McDermott, and the 20th pick and potentially get their 4th pick. You may not even have to give up the 9th pick. I'm terrible with these draft scenarios, though, so don't just take that at face value. Don't read any more into that. But basically, if the Spurs are trading up to 4, I think they either have to grab Shaedon Sharpe, who absolutely scares me because there's just not enough. There's not enough tape on him. There's not. But he's one of those guys. Everyone's like, oh, he's the mystery man of this draft, so he's going to go high. He's going to be the Dante Exum of this draft, despite never playing overseas. Or the other guy is you want to make sure that you're getting Keegan Murray, and I think that would be the more likely scenario for the Spurs. If they trade up to 4, they're saying we are going after Keegan Murray. We are making sure that we get that pick so that he can't get taken right before us at 7 or 8.
Ben, hold up. Let's tail back. What was your trade package, bro? What was that? Hold up. Time out. 20 Devin and Doug for 4? Do you
No,
work for?
No, I did not say that. I said Doug McDermott. If I said Vasel, it was supposed to be Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson, McDermott, and the 20th pick for the 4th pick.
I don't know, big fella. I don't know.
I don't know if it's enough, but
respectfully, Ben, it's all love between me and you, but I don't know. Hey, we'll we'll have to come back to that. We saw a crazy CBS tweet earlier. Dante DiVincenzo, and we get picked
That's who it
4
was.
for. Yeah, that was.
That's what I was thinking of. That's what it was. And they get Dante DiVincenzo in return, which is like whatever. He's a throw-in at that point. But that's probably really not enough in reality to get the 4th pick and whatever throw-in you put in there. But it is the Kings, so I put nothing past them.
But hey, Patron, hit us with the next question, my man. If you were there.
Yeah, sorry. The next question was if they do that trade, because my trade was a Josh Richardson, Jakob, a protected lottery for next year, and the 20th pick for the 4th pick. But the Kings could actually use a big man, so I think Jakob makes a good amount of sense there. And also, like, how aggressive do you think they would be in free agency to get like another big man to replace Jakob?
That is the question that I want to answer. Thank you. You just threw the lob, and I'm about to slam that. Okay, let's talk about this. Jesse, I think, just dipped. We're bringing back to various. The center market this year. Oh man, let's just go down the list. Isaiah Hartenstein, Mr. Walking Scoliosis. He's solid. 10 mil, 11 mil. Would you rather have him or Jakob? I'm thinking Jakob, but let's just go through the scenario. Thomas Bryant signed to Life Agency Sports, same agency as Josh Primo. Didn't really do too well at Washington. Had some moments of like, this guy's actually a solid center, a solid young center while playing for the Lakers. But then all that hype, I don't want to say just diminished, but man, like he doesn't have that motor, doesn't have that dog in him, right? I don't know. Let's see. Small ball 5, possibly, right? Chris Boucher, above the MLE, maybe. He did fairly well as a backup to Pascal Siakam, the other skinny center on the Toronto Raptors. Maybe they could use Jakob Poeltl, right? They were trying to get him out of us. I don't know. There's guys like Zubac you can possibly trade for before he signs an extension. There's guys like Rashawn Holmes. Maybe he wants another restart. PJ Washington is a solid small ball 5. Montrezl Harrell doesn't scream Spurs. Jesse, you got your hand up. You got any ideas, man?
I'm saving Jakob for a potential sign and trade for Ayton, if that's possible. I don't know how the cap works with it because I haven't wrapped my mind around it, but that's my deal. That's what I would like to do.
Yeah. So that makes sense. But one thing that I'm not going to say is the biggest issue, but the Suns are at the standpoint where, hey, is Jakob Poeltl 9 and Devin, Doug, Jay Rich, whatever, is that better just to maybe go against us in the, I don't want to say Western Conference Finals, maybe the first, second round, right? Next 2 or 3 years, maybe. Or do they just take Miles Turner and 6, Goga as a backup? I don't know. Maybe. The leverage for DeAndre Ayton isn't nowhere near the level what people think it is, right? People think that Detroit is going to offer the farm and try and pay off all their caps so they can get Miles Bridges and DeAndre Ayton, but gutting all their team. That is idiotic. That is the dumbest thing I've seen on my timeline today. DeAndre Ayton is only going to take, I don't want to say multiple first rounds, 1 or 2 first rounds. It's going to take his best replacement available. And some other teams are probably going to offer, we'll get into the Patron and I'll get to Ben in a second. But some other teams, I'm telling you, man, they're going to, it could be New York. It could even be Brooklyn. Hey, I know it sounds crazy, but in 3-team trade, a lot of leverage there. So I'm not sure. Jesse brings up a good point, and that's the popular point. That's the point that I want. I want DeAndre Ayton on this team. I want him, like I said at the beginning of the space, sit this man down. Bring in Tim. Bring in David Robinson. Bring in other Spurs legends and be like, big fella, put your phone down. Ready to play some basketball? Ready to be a Hall of Famer? Let's get in the gym. Let's work on it. Let's work on that post hook. Let's work on not fouling when you close out. And can he do that? Will he be on our competitive timeline later on the line? definitely. And as I was rambling and as I look back on my phone, that man is gone. So we don't know his last question. But Ben, did you have any discourse about DeAndre Ayton or about anything on to that?
Yeah, if you're trading Jakob Poeltl at all, one, he should probably be involved in the Phoenix trade. But if for some reason you're not sending him to Phoenix, but you're still going to go after DeAndre Ayton, sending Poeltl elsewhere definitely signals we are in the market for big men, for good big men, big men that are hopefully better than Poeltl, which, if you ask me, is not a whole lot. I mean, there's maybe 10, 15 guys, but definitely not more than that, I would argue. So you got to find a way to appease the Suns, although I don't think they have the leverage they think they do. You've made DeAndre Ayton disgruntled. He doesn't want to be there. He clashes with Chris Paul at times. You already have basically 3 max guys on your contract, on your salary cap, rather. You're not going to pay a fourth. You have Chris Paul who's getting crazy money. You have Devin Booker. You have Mikal Bridges who you're paying. So there's just not room for a fourth at that point. So I think that's the biggest thing. They have to find a way to get something in return, and they just might hit the point of desperation where they say, we'll give almost anything you want to give us. And that may mean that if in Detroit's desperation and potentially their stupidity, they, like you said, sell the farm to him. He could end up there, which is terrifying because, one, I hate that for DeAndre Ayton. Frankly, I hate that for anybody. But two, the Spurs are very much SOL as far as potential guys to go sign then. Like you mentioned, you can get Isaiah Hartenstein. You can probably get him on the cheap if you really want. Montrezl is the true big, but he's definitely a good energy guy if you're looking to do that. If you also added Keldon Johnson to that Poeltl package, then you can get Trez to replace him, who's bigger, taller, will provide the same amount of energy, the same kind of energy, I should say. No matter how you may feel about him otherwise, he is a good, solid player who deserves to play in the NBA. But, yeah, the prospects for centers or at least bigger players in this free agency class is not ideal. So I think that has to be the move. If you're trading Jakob Poeltl, you're trading him to Phoenix in that sign and trade, and you are getting Ayton in return.
And let's think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The Spurs are in no reason. They have no way. They have no leverage to mess around and get worse this year. Let's start 10-30. Let's start 15 and even 25. Something mid to average what we're supposed to be. DeJounte is looking at Coach Pop. He's, do I want to sign his extension? Keldon Johnson's like, sheesh, man, I can get it back somewhere else this year. And then we're just waving the Jakob Poeltl trade deadline up until the trade deadline, and then we may not get anything from him. These trades not only have to happen, but Brian Wright, he's got to have 2 phones at this point. Like I said, he's got to make something happen. And trading at the deadline last year, the Brent Forbes stuff, the Goran Dragic for Thaddeus Young, and we're getting a first-round pick for Drew Eubanks. That type of stuff, man. Those type of trades, they don't happen on draft night. Those type of aggressive signings or 4 or 5 team trade packaging that I'm talking about, we were involved in one last year with Russ. I got what the guy's name is. We got Chandler Hutchinson, who didn't play a lick of, but that was just a roster dump, man, and we had to figure things out. But as I'm rambling here, I want to shout out to everyone listening. Thank you for tuning in. Anyone from my personal life, the burner accounts, people that have connected with us on the timeline. Definitely appreciate you. I think we had up to 60 people at one point and 50 people consistently throughout the whole time. Ben and I are definitely, as Tavares is requesting, we are definitely trying to keep as much discourse and much open draft discussion to be pointed in the right direction so everyone can know the right and wrongs of certain aspects of things. Just because, man, like, the Spurs are going to surprise a lot of people come draft night. We have no idea what they're going to do. But, man, we're gonna list all the options possible. Jesse has his hand raised, and I believe we brought up Tavares back. So, Jesse, go right ahead, and then Tavares. And then Ian.
You open today, man?
It is Monday, and you know it's crazy, man. I got a date, bro. So I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see.
All good. Priorities.
Right? Hand claps for Evan, right? Yeah, let's go. Tavares.
Hey, who's the better center, Jakob or Mitchell Robinson?
Woof. Man, for the future or right now?
Right now.
I'll say Jakob, but in a couple of years, I'm going to say Mitchell Robinson as we bring up young Harriet. Young Harriet, I have a trade offer for you in one moment. You're not going to like this. But Mitchell Robinson, he said, hey, I want to be a Knick. I'm at home. The New York Statue of Liberty emoji. I don't think he's going anywhere, man. But, hey, the Knicks, if Jalen Duran falls to him at 11, he hasn't signed that extension yet. Mark Williams falls to him at 11. He hasn't signed yet. That is totally possible. I would love Mitch on this team. Younger than Jakob, same role. The mentality, but the growth of Mitchell Robinson, man, that is next level. Ian had his hand up, and then we brought up young Harriet. Ben, I know you have some discourse you want to say. Go ahead, do it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Mitchell Robinson. I totally agree with Evan on that. Right now, it's still Pirtle, but give it a year or two, and it's definitely going to be Mitchell Robinson. I'm not sure it'll be close just because I love what he does, and I'm a huge advocate of him getting all of the minutes. Of course, it's hard to do that with Julius Randle taking up so much time, but give Mitchell Robinson the minutes, New York. Don't be cowards.
And Tom does not like that, man. Sometimes, man, he'll play Taj Gibson in clutch time over Mitchell Robinson. I'm sorry. Ian had his hand up. He put it down, but he had his hand up. We're going to go to him, and then we're going to go to young Harry.
Yeah, I have a question on Vasel and Keldon. So I've been hearing a lot of trade rumors not trade rumors, just us as far as with being more okay with letting Keldon go versus Vasel. And I kind of want to dive a little bit more into that. I mean, because just when doing my own analysis, we play way better with Keldon on the floor versus Vasel. Like I was going through our on and off, the on off stats. We're playing 5.5 points, 5.5 points. We're scoring 5.5 points more with Keldon versus Devin. It's 1. As far as with estimated or expected wins that Keldon adds, it's 14 versus 1 with Vasel. And really for me, their personality, I think Keldon, he's a country boy. I feel like he would be less likely to leave let's say if they're both free agents, unrestricted. I feel like Vasel would have a lot. He would leave more so than Keldon would. And so they're only 10 months apart. I mean, for me, Keldon is way more valuable to the Spurs than Vasel, just right now.
Uh-oh. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up now. Let's talk about it. Devin Vasel. Hey, second year Devin Vasel. He can get to a spot, pull up mid-range. We saw flashes of Keldon Johnson do that as well, right? Year 3 DV might surprise a lot of people now. I've compared him to Richard Hamilton. We've seen the Mikal Bridges comparisons. I think he's more than just a 3 and D. He's an isolation wing that isn't necessarily a 3-level scorer, but hold up. How many posters did Devin Vasel have last year? Did he finish over people? Did he finish wrap around under the rims? I think I saw some flashes. Year 3 Devin may Keldon Johnson's back. Year 3 Devin is a 2 and a 3. Keldon's just a 3, and hopefully not another 4 unless we run that small ball lineup, goddammit. So can they coexist? Yeah. Is it the match made in heaven? Who would you rather have in a clutch moment, clutch bucket? Oof. Uh-oh. Is Devin hot? Who hit more threes this game? Who's a better defender? What's the opposition looking like? That's tough, and they may need to be split up later down the line because, man, when it's time to pay Devin, what's his bag looking like? Year 3 Devin, is he more or just as effective as a 17 mil Keldon Johnson year 3? I don't know. Do we trade Devin to Atlanta for John Collins or DeAndre Hunter and get back pick 16 just to get Marjon Beauchamp or Ochai Agbaji? I don't know. Before I pass it to Young Harriet, all I got to say is Jared Jackson Jr. would look a lot better in a Spurs jersey. His dad went here. We definitely need that modern five of the shot blocking king. I'm just trolling. Young Harriet, what is going on? Give her a follow. She's a Grizzlies fan. I see her all the time in spaces. Really knowledgeable on the draft. Young Harriet, floor is yours.
You know what? Yeah, yeah. Nice try though, Evan. But I can't even. You kind of knocked me off my train of thought, but I appreciate the effort. I do have a slight question. To me, it seems like the Spurs have every type of wing that every team in the NBA covets. So my question would be whether you're parting with Devin Vasel, would you part with Devin Vasel or even Keldon Johnson to move up in a space where you could probably draft a kid like a Shaden Sharp to actually pair him with uh uh DeJounte and play them as a backcourt together?
Ben, before I pass this to you, all I got to say is Shadon Sharp as a Spur is not only a disaster, but like I've heard some crazy things from Shadon Sharp's camp via other people. His AAU coach is his manager or his agent. Shadon Sharp didn't play in the combine, didn't want to showcase any type of skill sets. Oh, but my workout video. Oh, my Shams tweet. Oh, my Shadon Sharp can jump 49 inches in the air. Shadon Sharp has a toolbox, has his bag. He's a 3-level scorer, electric first step. Great. Shadon Sharp, his meeting with Coach Pop, that probably didn't happen. That did not go well. That would not go well. Oh my God. So listen, the prototype Spur from back in the day doesn't really exist anymore. The quiet Tim Duncans, the sneaky Tony Parkers, if you know what I'm saying, right? The Manu Ginobili's, the humble, the European style of play, right? We have DeJounte Murray. We have Keldon Johnson. We have a couple, passive aggressive type of guys on this team. The last thing we need on this team. Hey, let me see that ball, man. Let me get that ball over here, man. I cannot stand Shadon Sharp, man. I cannot stand that man. He is a headache. He is a prima donna. He is a number one option in his head. That's probably only going to get 10 minutes a game. And granted, he'll be in Detroit. He'll be in Indiana. He'll be in wherever else. We'll see the goods. We'll see the highs. We'll see the lows. But just know that drama, boy, that is not worth it. If you have your own logo and you're 18, right? He has his own little sharp little C logo, right? And he has his own little thing going on social media. Bro, you do not need to stand for you do not need to be a part of the Spurs, bro. That does not scream the Spurs way. And that's just a risk, bro. That is the biggest risk in this draft. That's why he's falling down boards. Seriously. So Ben, I'm sorry. I had to get personal for a moment.
I can definitely agree. I would love to see a kid like Jeremy Shohan in you guys' program. Actually, I think he would flourish there. But I think that's most likely where the Spurs might be headed toward his direction.
I don't want to
say
remove you,
that you're
Harry. I
right.
don't want to remove you. I don't want to remove you. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Shaden Sharp is terrifying to me. Not only for all the off the court stuff, but if you're trading Devin Vasel or you're trading a Keldon Johnson to get him, you just gave up 2 or 3 years, depending on which player it is. You just gave up 2 or 3 years of development of that player so that you can start over with another guy who happens to have a 49-inch vertical. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And a guy who may cause off the court trouble. So, yeah, I'm not high on him. If you're gonna get up into the top 4
you're probably guaranteeing yourself Keegan Murray, and that's about it. Unless you get into the top three, in which case you're giving yourself a shot at Paolo Banchero, who would be a phenomenal fit for a number of reasons. But it would take a lot for the Spurs to do that. So, but I think that is where they're headed, though. What you said about Jeremy Sohan, I mean, a lot of signs point to him getting picked at 9 for sure.
Listen, when the Spurs pass on Shadon Sharpe for whoever, and Shadon Sharpe goes to be a Knick, right? Or if the Wizards don't bring back Bradley Beal and he's a Wizard, I want you to watch the opening possession of every single game and watch how, not say boneheaded he is, but watch how it's the Jalen Green mentality of which was last year, which is why he had a tough start to his year. I went to the preseason game against the Rockets in October, and literally Jalen Green off rip is just looking for his respect. Off rip is just looking to get to the rim. Off rip is just looking to get a mismatch, step back, cross tween, airball. Ooh, psych. Ooh, I don't know. Shadon Sharpe screams that to me. Shadon Sharpe screams he wants to play with a young, exciting, running gun style of team. Man, is it fun to mess around with in 2K? You bet your ass. You bet your ass. Shadon Sharpe is going to be a stud in this league later down the line with the right team. A lot of ifs in that. A lot of what if moments. But oh man, if you want to talk about the type of prospect that'll give Coach Pop a possible aneurysm, it is Shadon Sharpe. I'm sorry I had to say that, but it is Shadon Sharpe. I cannot stand this man's mentality, man. You were trying to be an NBA pro, and you're being just not that. I'm gonna be appropriate now. I did say a little too much on this space, but at the end of the day, man, I just can't see it happening. Ben, how much longer do you have? If anybody has any closing remarks here, closing statements, and any last minute questions, we've been on here for an hour and a half. Not only do we appreciate y'all, but that type of draft discourse needs to be discussed as well. Because man, if it doesn't, and if I'm not honest, why did we pass him? Why did we pass him? You'll see. You will see for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got a few more minutes here. If anybody's got questions, please feel free to hit us. And of course, get us in our DMs, add us. We will answer questions anywhere and everywhere. I know Evan will answer it, and he will probably use more words than I
do. Very much so. Very much so. You're getting the full nitty gritty. Gino, I know you have a favorite prospect in Johnny Davis. I know you have a second favorite prospect that you mentioned. But I'll start with you, and then we'll just go around the room. What is the worst pick that the Spurs can make at 9, in your opinion?
Oh, like a Baji. That'd be horrible. I mean, we got 5 Abadis on the team. We don't have a guy who can get his own shot. That's my only point. A lot of the guys you guys talk about, they need people to get shots for them. They can't get their own shot. Johnny Davis can get his own shot. That's why I love Johnny Davis. In the NBA, you need guys to win, to really compete. You need guys who can get their own shot, and that's why I think Johnny Davis. Remember, we're picking at 9. Yeah, I'd rather have Pablo Banchero. Hell yeah, I'd rather have Pablo Banchero. Well, we are Paulo, but we ain't getting him. But at 9, a realistic pick at 9. Give me Johnny Davis all day long. And Coach Pop will love Johnny Davis because he's a certified badass.
The certified badass in Johnny Davis. You heard it here first from my guy Gino. Yeah. Ian, I'll go with you next, man. We're just going from top to bottom. Excuse me. Who was your, let's turn the TV off, am I even a Spurs fan type of pick? What is that at pick 9 for you?
If he drops, it's Shadon Sharpe. I mean, kind of for the points that you mentioned. I would hate that pick. I absolutely would. I'm not a believer in him. Just maturity wise, he's not a Spurs player. And really he's not acting like an NBA player, just like you mentioned. He doesn't look polished at all. He really just has athleticism. His dribbling is poor. I'm not a big fan.
Nave, you are next. I know it's late in Israel, man, but if you are still up and still with us, who do you got? Who's your boneheaded, head scratching? I don't like this guy. Who's that guy for you at number 9?
The guy I don't like is Patrick Baldwin Jr. Patrick Baldwin. I can't
Hey, no.
stand him.
Talk about it, Nave. Why? Why don't you like him?
He reminds me of Lucas Manic, like the tall guy that do nothing on the court, and you presume he will do something one day, and he doesn't.
Hey, all I gotta say is if Patrick Baldwin Jr. can find a situation to where he's just like a Cam Johnson, a trailer, um, not even pick and pop scenarios, because this man, hey, I want everybody, the 40 people in this room, to go to your local Golds, your local gym, whichever you can maybe sneak into if you don't got a membership, right? Find a box jump. There's one that's about to be 24 inches, right? Try and jump on that. And if you can, just know you can jump higher than Patrick Baldwin Jr., okay? Patrick Baldwin Jr. is the stiffest, most immobile forward, but he's a sniper. A sniper. When he gets hot, not only is he unstoppable from three, but man, off the dribble, mid range. But that is the only thing. And I don't think he's anywhere near pick 9, respectfully. But I could see teams in like the Cleveland range, OKC range, rather than, hey, we don't need a Usman Dieng, we don't need a project pick. Let's just get a shooter. Let's get the best shooter available. And Nikola Jovic, hey, he has no defense whatsoever. Patrick Baldwin Jr., it's an effort thing. We've shown flashes. But boy, that lateral movement, man, I'm not making any more jokes. I promise I'll chill out on that. But just this man needs to jump over some freaking ladders, do some ladder drills, the in and outs, all that stuff, man. Because he is stiff. He had injuries, of course. Look at him. He's stiff, scoliosis. Literally, just like he walks just like Isaiah Hartenstein with his neck literally bit down into his shoulders. I just can't. Anyways, sorry, young Harriet, you're not even a Spurs fan. But hey, you're picking right after us in the early lottery. Who would you be like, damn, the Spurs passed on him? Man, I don't really understand that. And who would you feel as I'm asking you a different question. Who would you feel as a steal for the Grizzlies at your pick?
If and I'm not being a homer, just by listening to the conversation of what you guys would prefer. If you guys pass on Jalen Duran, it's going to be a mistake. It just is, in my opinion, because of the potential that he has with his offensive game. And once he was made a focal point within the college system, he flourished. And that was without a point guard. If you guys pass on him, I do believe that that's a mistake. What I do believe the Grizzlies are going to do is they're going to trade up into possibly ahead of you guys, hopefully ahead of the Spurs. To draft Usman Jang. 6'10", 6'11", shot creator, defender, somebody that could let Ja play off of the ball with a burgeoning offensive game, both off the dribble and in terms of catch and shoot. He would be the ideal 3-man to play alone. See, my idea of what the Grizzlies could be is a little different, because I supremely hope they move Desmond Bane to the bench and move Zaire Williams. Hopefully his development is such in the summer that, he can play the starting 2 guard, with Usman Jane playing the 3, Jaren playing the 4, and Steven Adams coming back on and expiring, playing the 5. And with the 29th pick, with the 22nd pick, I hope we draft Marjon Beauchamp if we stay there. With the 29th pick, I hope they go for more of a center. Hopefully Christian Koloko out of Arizona. And with the 47th pick, I'm looking at Hugo Besson out of I think it was the NBL. I'm not sure. But I think he is that combo guard that the Grizzlies actually need to play behind Ja Morant. And I think it would also free up some of the monies that we're going to have to eventually pay both Desmond Bain and Brandon Clark if they choose to keep both of them.
Hey, all I got to say is Hugo Besson is ours. You guys can have Leonard Miller. I haven't sold my stock, but that type of playmaking you have, the type of skinny forward build, right, but with guard-like intangibles you're looking at with the Ousmane Dieng. I don't want to call it a reach, but I'm thinking of the Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other, him and Zaire Williams. Even though they have different prototypes in games, the skinny forward that can both get to their spot, Euro step, try and finish at the glass. I'm buying Zaire Williams fit next to Ousmane Dieng because, hey, Kyle Anderson is gone. He's getting his back somewhere else. And I can definitely see that being a thing. Ben, we'll close out with you. And we're trying to bring up more people, but it was like some technical difficulty. So I guess it's just a space down to try and shut up. So, Ben, if you want to close us out, who is your pick at 9 that is just like, God damn it, why'd we get that guy? Go ahead.
Can I give you a list of 15 people? No. But if somehow Shaden Sharp falls that far, he's definitely one of those guys for me that I will throw something at my wall in frustration. I think if they grab a point guard, it's like a Ty Washington, that would make me throw something in anger as well. Those are probably the two guys for me right now.
And the last thing I'll say about Ty, I see Mike's not with us. He's the guy that's just like, Ty? I don't like Ty. Ty's a Trey Jones clone. No, Ty is a solid combo guard. Realistically, he can play both positions just as effective. He has no real mid-range game. He has just a solid floater. Okay on defense. Obviously had the 17 assist outbreak and everyone was hyped about, which was obviously well-deserved and everyone hit their shots. But man, oh man, not only is that a reach at 9, but this guy could possibly slip out the first round. There's guys in all the mock drafts that have been in, the Ties of the world, the Jaden Hardys of the world, the Marjon Beauchamps of the world. It's all about, hey, if this wing isn't picked up here, best believe he's falling in the second round, man, because everyone from 26 to 30 is either taking BPA or a big. Maybe not the Warriors because they may go for a backup point guard at that rate, but they got another pick late in the second round. And literally at the end of the day, I'm letting you guys know right now, without major reconstruction to this roster, the Spurs are in desperate need of another combo guard. The second unit, hey, Trey Jones, let's say he's out, right? Or let's say DeJounte's out and Trey Jones has to start. Who is the backup point guard? Who is it? It's not Primo. And he's getting ripped. We're going the other way. He's not even playing 20 minutes as a point guard. It's not Johnny Davis, Gino. It's not Johnny Davis.
It's Alondes Williams. It's Alondes Williams.
and Alondes Williams is a great option. I would love Alondes and Jake LaRavia to both join the Spurs. I feel like there's about to be one or two strange connections. Obviously, they're not bringing foreign rookies, but maybe a Hugo Besson and Ousmane Dieng, two Frenchmen. Maybe two Duke guys and Trevor Kills and Mark Williams. Maybe. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of scenarios. I'm just picturing and I'm just rambling here. But guys, me and Ben, as Ben is texting me saying to close this out, we have to close things out now. We have to go. But we definitely appreciate everyone stopping by. We definitely love all the DMs, all the interactions, and all the connections we're building amongst the Spurs community. So if you have any questions, any DMs, if we didn't answer anything that you would like, as Ben is probably shopping, we are we're just gonna close things out. Ben, if you have any closing remarks, man, go ahead.
Like Evan said, we appreciate you guys all coming out here, listening to us. Just get after it about the NBA draft. It's our favorite topic. So we're going to be doing that all the way up to the NBA draft. Evan and I are going to be on a live show that night as well. So you can catch us on that with Project Spurs. A couple other guests with us helping out, giving us some insight, asking us the questions so we get to look smart in front of you guys like you guys have done for us already.
So, we're getting good prep here. We appreciate that, and I'm sure we'll be on next week. We'll let you guys know, and I'm looking forward to it. Always do.
Definitely. And I have some spaces I'll be joining throughout the week. I think I have a forward and wing tier ranking with my guy Ryan. He works for FanDuel. A couple other podcasts we may be a part of. But we'll let you guys know. We'll keep you updated. And like I said, like we both said, definitely appreciate all the love. Definitely appreciate all the patience, all the questions, all the discourse. Hey, you're making our lives a lot easier and a lot more fun. So you guys have a great rest of your week. If you want to reach out to us at any point in time, if we don't follow you back, let us know. Got you. You guys have a good one. Take care.